please. I am Commissioner Zoe and I will be chairing this meeting. And we have a couple of faces here that, although aren't new, I would like to introduce them as Acting Chief Constable Elliot Foskett. Would like to say hello, Elliot.
Good afternoon, Commissioner. Good afternoon, everybody. Good to be here.
Good. And also Acting Deputy Chief Constable, and that's Scott Bissett.
Good afternoon, Commissioner, and good afternoon, everybody.
Brilliant. Okay. Right, we're going to launch straight in and go to the performance section. So Catherine, who is new to the meeting, welcome, Catherine. Would you like to talk us through it, please?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Catherine Clark. I'm Temporary Assistant Chief Constable at the moment, so I'll take you through the public accountability performance slides now. So if we could move on to the next slide, please. Thank you. That's great. So this first slide obviously relates to emergency 999 calls over a period of the last 12 months. So the top bar graph that you'll see shows our call volumes per month during 2023. And the blue line that you answered those in our target of 10 seconds. You'll see that we receive more calls during the summer than we do in the winter. So our performance in answering 999 calls has improved significantly in the past 12 months. Our target is to answer 90% of 999 calls within 10 seconds, and all forces are on a journey to achieve this, but I'm really pleased to report that here in North Yorkshire we've achieved a 15% improvement in average call answering time in the face of an increased call volume of 16% on top of the 2022 call figures. You'll see, if you can see on the chart, you'll see from December, we're now hitting that target of 90% of 999 calls answered in 10 seconds. The control room are working hard to maintain and then improve on this performance. So I can tell you over the past week, on average, we've answered 90.77% within that target. So we are on an upwards trajectory. We'll have a presentation from the head of control later, so I'll leave the rest of that in terms of how that's been achieved.
Charlotte, Sorry, Charlotte, can I just jump in and say, you know, I am really, really pleased to see that, you know, there's a real positive to see that the call answer time continues to improve. Really, really pleased about that. And I now note that we are 25th out of 45 nationally of the forces call answer times. I'm really pleased about that. So well done. It's great.
Yeah, thank you very much, and huge credit there to a lot of hard work that's gone on in the control room to achieve that. Okay, so you will see there is the crime trend over 3 years. At the bottom left, very low, that was, I think it's notable to say that that was a COVID lockdown period. So we all saw crime was a lot lower nationally. So we probably sort of discount that in terms of sort of comparisons, because that was a special time that probably none of us wants to think back to. So December 23, since February 21, 3,319 in December 23. So we're really happy that's come back down. And if you look at if you were to imagine yourself drawing a line, the overall trajectory of that is on a downwards direction. So North Yorkshire Police, you'll see, has lower levels in all but one crime type. So if you move into that bottom big table there with the turquoise heading, you can see there there's a column that says NYP rate per 1,000 population, and next to that England and Wales rate per 1,000 population. So that's the comparison for crime rates in North Yorkshire versus the rest of the country by 1,000 population, sorry. So in all but one, we are a lot lower in every crime type. So violence, theft from person, robbery, burglary, the drug offences, often those offence types that cause fear among the public, are significantly lower in North Yorkshire. We see bicycle crime a slight difference, albeit very small, and we know that there are certain forces that might sort of potentially sort of skew that data, if you like, where you have a higher population and a higher crime rate, the average can move. So albeit it is a different, I just thought it would be useful to just explain that slight difference. Your count by district data, which is the bar graph on the bottom right, this mirrors our population figures for each of those areas, and we don't believe that to be disproportionate.
Just a quick snapshot. These are some of our outcomes just to share with you. So we've touched on it already. 999 calls significantly improved from 13 seconds to 6 seconds. So these are from December to December. 101 from 2 minutes 29 to 1 minute 34. And again, a 64% to 71%. And I said this morning, celebrating with an 88% SLA, which was absolutely superb. I've set the challenge today to match it or beat it. I'll leave it to them. Improve response times, again, for our urban, 75% to 85%. Again, for rural, we know we've got a bit of work to do on the rural, but the focus is there, and the priorities from 68 to 77. Again, I've put on there the vulnerability and repeat, because that is something that we want to identify at the point of call. We are now being able to identify that 80% of the time at that point. So again, that will help to determine how we respond to that call that's coming in. Reduce the number of calls over 2 minutes, and quite rightly, as you've said, you know, we were 44 out of 45 on the list, and we're now 25th. So again, some really good improvements, and obviously we've improved the submissions for online reporting as well. Moving on then, I've gone over my time, I'm sorry. So these are just some outcomes again from HMIC, and this is about those initial questions that we asked the public. So crime prevention advice, initial grading, preservation, because obviously that's really key for when our CSI colleagues attend, to make sure that we've asked the public as much as possible to try and protect the scene for us and identifying that vulnerability at point of call. The next slide, again, I'll just touch on, that's for people to see as they wish. It's just a snapshot in visuals about the improvement of our performance over a set few months, just so you can see how it's improved over the year. And then just to touch on, Commissioner, again, a big thank you. We have a further business case that we've put to yourselves, and that is to increase the controllers from 72 to 84. And I know your concerns there we haven't got to 72, but we have got a plan to get to that. The introduction of a switchboard, which will help with that 101. Investment in supervisors, so again, so it's that immediate welfare and performance management live time. Further channel choice, so we're looking at live chat, which I think will be brilliant for our public to be able to use. The training hub manager, and then we've got a performance analyst and a quality assurer, because it's really important that we really understand the performance and we're quality assuring so that we are improving all of the time. So again, just a big thank you for that. And the last slide is just the opportunities and benefits that will come from that business case that we are now working on.
Thank you very much, Fee. There's some really great work happening in the Force Control Room. I am absolutely delighted of where you've got to. There's more to do, as you've acknowledged, but you're absolutely going in the right trajectory. You know, I am delighted, I really am. All the information on the slides will be put onto our website, so anybody watching who wants to have a look at them more in detail, you'll be able to go and have a look. But please, we take my thanks back to the Force Control Room, everybody who works in there, for working so hard, and also the senior leadership team too, who have been overseeing this improvement. So thank you, it's been great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thanks very much.
Right, okay, let's move on to the spotlight questions. So I've got two here. So I'm not quite sure if Elliot or Scott would like to answer this. The following is, so following the recent tragic case of Bronson Battersby, which involves social services and police, do North Yorkshire Police respond immediately to concerns raised by social services to conduct welfare checks?
Yeah, thanks, Commissioner. I think the DEP will probably take that one.
Yeah, I'll pick that up, Zoe, because there's a direct link, isn't there, between our safeguarding response and just exactly what Fee and Catherine have spoken about the importance of a really effective force control room. I think it's important to say, isn't it, how tragic that incident was. There can't be any member of the public that isn't touched by that, and it's the same for police officers and staff within the force. I don't want to make any specific comment on that incident because I don't think it's appropriate. We know there's investigations taking place, and we all feel what the impact of that will be for the local community and a family. What I will say is that in incidents like that, where we see occurrences, shall we say, that we know could land in any police force in terms of a phone call coming into the force control room across England and Wales and beyond, is assuring ourselves that we are making the most appropriate assessment that we can, without making any judgment whatsoever on what's happened. So what we did was we commissioned a piece of work. Fiona's already mentioned, Catherine has, about our right care, right person policy does not apply to children. And that's entirely appropriate. That's a policy that we've put into place, and we will respond appropriately when we get contacted about children. The second point is where we get contacted from social services about concerns about children. We've dip sampled a number of contacts in that regard, and in every single one we have attended at some point. And what I mean by that is it may well be that attendance immediately isn't the appropriate solution. We need to do a joint visit with social services, or we do go at the time and we conduct a welfare check because a member of the public has rung us and said they're concerned for whatever reason about somebody or young people at that address. We do have information where there are safeguarding concerns available to the call handler when they take that call in terms of markers. So if there are markers that raise the risk, then they will form part of that risk assessment, which then determines when we go and who goes. So out of the 10 we've looked at, we have gone in every case. And the 10 we've dip sampled are 10 random ones from social services to us. So in every case we've gone. And I think that's quite reassuring. As I've said, it's either a welfare check or it's an arranged joint visit, or where we haven't gone immediately, it's because we're seeking further information and actually the risk didn't present that we needed to go at the time. So you can never be complacent. You know, there's so much detail that comes in through the force control room every single day, hundreds of calls. And that's the importance of all those things you've heard Fiona talk about. Thrive, risk assessments, threat, harm, investigation, responding, vulnerability. That's what it stands for. And that's why our people at the front end receive that training to make the best assessment possible.
Thank you. And that it really is very reassuring. So thank you very much, Scott. So this is another question that I've had a couple of times actually recently over the last couple of weeks said to me. There's two parts to it. So concerns being submitted from a member of the public regarding the time that response officers spend on paperwork rather than on the front line. And the second bit is that they have friends in the police who struggle with their mental health and feel under pressure. So I suppose the questions are, how do North Yorkshire Police split the paperwork load between officers to ensure that frontline staff are able to be efficient, visible and not overloaded? And the second question is, what does North Yorkshire Police do to protect officers' mental health and avoid stress?
Thanks, Commissioner. I mean, paperwork has been a kind of a thing for police ever since I joined years and years ago, probably around the same time as Sir Robert Peel, in all fairness. And it's one of those things that we have to do. As you've heard Catherine talk about earlier on, there are things like police protection notices that have to be done, risk assessments that have to be done, case files, investigations. The key to this is giving our officers the flexibility with mobile data, mobile devices, so that they're out and about more and not having to come back into the station to do paperwork, to sit there with mountains of this stuff to go through. I think it's fair to say that we've got plans that you're aware of, Commissioner, going into this year, which is going to take a huge burden of some of that paperwork away from our investigative staff. That's going to be, we think, free up somewhere in the region of between 25 and 35,000 police hours of time from paperwork, which is brilliant. We don't split paperwork out between people. People carry workloads, they carry investigations, and they're monitored by their supervisors, and that's why the role of the sergeant is absolutely critical. The sergeant will monitor that, make sure that people aren't dealing with what you call that overburden, that burnout, because we know, once you start to reach a certain level of investigations, it becomes very difficult to make progress. So the sergeant's role is crucial. We're investing in our frontline leaders program with our sergeants so that they know how to manage those workloads as well. And it links very neatly actually into the next bit, because we've also been investing in our frontline leaders around spotting well-being issues and how to manage well-being of their staff. There's a number of things we do to manage it. We know that police officers on average attend something like 400, I think, traumatic incidents in their lifetime, where most people won't fortunately ever see one really traumatic incident. So this is that potential for people to become that tacit stress over and over again. So we have something called TRIM, which is the Trauma Risk Incident Management, which is a proactive way of, if somebody's been to an incident, we can intervene. So a traumatic incident, we can intervene early and refer them through to occupational health services if they need that bit of advice, and encourage that check-in. There's a thing called, actually most of us have got on our phone, called Backup Buddy, which enables us to kind of access services as well to manage our mental health. And again, with the middle leaders program and the frontline leaders program, that focus so they know how to spot those signs as well. And it doesn't just rest with frontline officers as well. It's throughout frontline staff. Our police staff within the control room, I know Fee's on, will say there's interventions at all stages, because you can imagine our call handlers in particular listen to some really traumatic incidents. So I'm really reassured. We've got a wellbeing board that we share with fire and rescue as well, really truly collaborative way. So I hope that answers some of your concerns, your person's concerns.
Yeah, thank you. And the wellbeing service is excellent. It really is, the provision that you've got there. Yeah, thank you very much. Right, okay, we're going to go on now to the HMIC FRS update, improvement update. Who would like to take this, please?
I think the debt probably.
Right. Yeah, I'll take this one. Zoe, if that's okay. Yeah, if you could move on to the next slide, please, Elaine. So this is a short update this month, and I'll explain why. You better than anybody, Commissioner, understand the level of assurance and scrutiny that's been put particularly on two specific areas of HMIC FRS. The first one being our response to the peel inspection, which was conducted in the autumn of 22, which resulted in a report which was actually published roughly 12 months ago, which none of us were happy with, and recognised the improvement that we had to make. But in addition, the National Child Protection Inspection, the NCPI report that was published at the back end of 21 and then resulted in a revisit last year, which also did not reflect well on the force and its response to vulnerability and young people. So I'm just going to touch on both of those. So you'll be aware that as a result of last year's peel inspection, the organisational improvement plan was put in place, which was a wide-ranging, robust response to improve the areas that HMIC had identified. And that was essentially very broadly applied to many areas of the organisation. That resulted in scrutiny. It resulted in us really looking very carefully at what best practice and what good looks like across other areas of the country, and shall we say, a swiftly delivered improvement programme, which you've seen over the past 12 months or so. We've just gone through our last peel inspection at the back end of autumn. We've seen the draft report, and we've just done some factual accuracy returning back to HMIC as of last Friday. And we are very optimistic that all the hard work from everybody in the organisation, police staff, officers and volunteers, will reflect well when that report's published, and which we're hoping will be the end of February and March. So as a result of that, making the assessment that the improvement plan is no longer required to be in place in the formal way in which it was, that has formally been closed. However, I'll come on to the final bullet point on there in terms of what we're doing to ensure we don't get back to that position again, and how we maintain a very high level of service delivery to the public. So as I've said, we're expecting the report to be published at the back end of February, beginning of March by HMIC. An important element of that was the closure of the cause for concern, which they issued when they did the original Peel inspection, which of course meant we received an inadequate, essentially around our enabling services and strategic planning capability. That cause for concern was closed by Michelle Skier, the HMI, at the back end of autumn, which we're delighted with. So we can really start seeing the improvement, and HMIC have too. I'll just come on to the final point around the review of governance, because we really can't and won't get back to the position of another inspection that takes us to that place. So the DEP owns the HMIC FRS portfolio. We've just had a really good meeting this morning. It happens every month through the Risk and Assurance Board. That board oversees different work streams with HMIC. So whether it's the Peel efficiency and legitimacy inspection, whether it's child protection and NCPI, whether it's forthcoming inspections, which I'll come on to later, the deputy will oversee both preparation and response and assurance that the plans we have put in place aren't just in place, but they're delivering what they should do for victims and the public of North Yorkshire and actually our people. So if we're saying we've got a genuine welfare offer, then we need to be absolutely assured that that's the case. If we're saying we've got wood workforce development, then we need to understand that that's in place. So you can see on the bottom of that slide the timeline that we've gone through, which just to confirm the improvement plan's been closed, and we await excitedly the publication of the Peel report in several weeks' time. But just reiterate, an unbelievable amount of work done by the whole organisation to really deliver that improvement that I know you appreciate, but which HMIC in their independent voice will hopefully reflect.
Yes, absolutely, Scott. And it's so positive that you had the causes of concern lifted. I mean, I cannot stress to the public and everyone that's watching the amount of work that goes into this and has gone into it is just, again, I'm going to use that word, phenomenal. It really, really is. And I'm so pleased for the force, I really am, that you've had those causes of concerns lifted, as well as North Yorkshire Fire and Rescue Service too, which I'm delighted at as well. What I will say is, yes, I'm hoping that we hope that the Peel inspection report will be published towards the end of February, which is great, and we shall all wait for that being published. But, you know, thank you so much. There has been an amazing amount of work done in this space. There really, really has. I will put a bit of a soft challenge into you, though, Scott, as you are acting DEP. I mean, for me, as far as I'm concerned, and I have always said, there is no reason why this force cannot be outstanding and aim to be outstanding. Now, it takes a period of time. It can't be done very quickly at all. And certainly in your next inspection, so the next round of Peel inspections, I would hope that when I watch from afar, that you are outstanding, absolutely. And I know that the systems and processes and the governance and the scrutiny and the will is there to do that. But my challenge is, I think this has worked very, very well for the public to be able to see the improvement plan and to see come on the journey with us, and for us to be open and transparent with the public. And so when your new Chief Constable comes in, Tim Forber, I will be having a conversation about doing something like, you know, the improvement plan section on the agenda for these meetings, because I think the public get a lot of reassurance, and it's always about trust and confidence, isn't it? And being able to demonstrate that you are improving all the time, because we're always evolving, aren't we? And I know there's a real will in that. So I will be a soft challenge to you there, Scott, but I'm having a conversation with the new Chief, Whitney Lance. Okay.
Thank you, Zoe. We all have we have that appetite to be the best we can be. Yeah. And that needs to translate to outstanding service for the public. So you've no argument with the soft challenge.
I know. Thank you so much, Scott. Thank you.